Good Wednesday morning, everybody. I'm Dave Furtado.
And I'm meteorologist Jefferson Donovan.
And welcome to Keep Her Quick, your latest local news and weather commercial free in about 20 minutes or less. We're going to jump right over to weather first because Jefferson, critical fire danger for today.
Yeah, that's right. The critical fire danger is going to be the big talking point on this Wednesday. Temperatures are going to be staying rather toasty. Of course, it is going to be staying dry. And then the reason why we are concerned about fire danger specifically for today will be the presence of strong winds. Widespread winds today gusting over 30 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 35 miles per hour today for the Tri-Cities and Yakima, up to 40 miles per hour in Walla Walla, up to 45 mile per hour gusts possible in Pendleton today, and winds gusting as high as 55 miles per hour in the Kittitas Valley. Again, that is why we are concerned about that critical fire danger for today. Now, by Thursday, we will be looking at cooler temperatures sweeping through the forecast area, and then by Friday, we will be looking at clouds and maybe even some rain shower chances. We'll talk more about all three of these weather headlines more coming up.
Thanks, Jefferson. We begin this morning in the Tri-Cities. 2 people are dead after a serious crash yesterday on the outskirts of Pasco. Troopers with the State Patrol tell us a Chevy Geo with 2 people inside were driving westbound on Foster Wells Road when they drove through a stop sign at the intersection of Highway 395. That's when a man in a Toyota Tacoma driving southbound on the highway broadsided the Chevy, killing both people inside. They have been identified as a 50-year-old woman and a 17-year-old girl. The man, who's 65, was taken to Cadlick Regional Medical Center for treatment, but is expected to survive. Authorities say the 50-year-old driver didn't yield, causing the crash. No drugs or alcohol were involved. And 2 people are recovering from their injuries in a separate crash in Walla Walla County yesterday. WSP troopers tell us the incident took place near the outskirts of Waitsburg on Highway 12 around lunchtime. They say one of the drivers attempted to pass a car as it was turning left to exit the highway and collided. Neither were transported to the hospital. The driver at fault was charged with improper passing. And Benton County Sheriff's deputies are investigating a possible case of animal cruelty after some animals were found locked in a trailer with no food or water. They posted this picture of the trailer in the 200,000 block of East Terrell Road after investigating the reports. Deputies found 3 goats inside without food or water with the belief they'd been there for about 3 days. The goats were showing signs of dehydration and were quickly confiscated for their safety. Deputies are now trying to determine who owns the goats. And neighbors at a Walla Walla apartment complex were able to alert police to a domestic violence situation, leading to an arrest on significant charges. Now, police got the call Monday afternoon that multiple residents in the 200 block of Egan Street could hear a woman calling for help. Neighbors helped police find the apartment when they arrived. Police found a woman with significant injuries, and they say the suspect, a 45-year-old man from Walla Walla, unlawfully entered the apartment and carried out a violent assault for a prolonged period of time. The man is now facing assault, burglary, and unlawful imprisonment charges. And a short chase last night led to the arrest of a convicted felon. According to Kennewick Police, just before 7:30 p.m. yesterday, officers were dispatched to the 2100 block of West 4th Avenue after a report that a woman had been threatened with a gun and a man had potentially fired a shot. Arriving officers discovered the suspect, a 29-year-old man, had fled into a business. Eventually, police gave chase to him after he ran outside with a gun in his hand. The 29-year-old was seen throwing that gun over a fence into a yard. Officers were able to catch up and arrest him, later discovering that he's a convicted felon. He was booked into the Benton County Jail on multiple charges, including second-degree assault and unlawful possession of a firearm. Police say they found no evidence of the gun being discharged. And an investigation continues following a deadly domestic violence dispute in Yakima over the weekend that left 2 people dead and a police officer shot. KIMA's Aiden Connor spoke with the family of one of the victims and brings us the latest.
Lupita Cordova was shot and killed Saturday afternoon after a domestic violence dispute, according to the Yakima Police Department. She is remembered by her family as joyful and creative.
What I remember the most and I love the most about her is her vibrant smile. She was so well connected to just Mother Nature in general. She loved to harvest her own vegetables, her own fruits. She was an excellent cook. In fact, her kids mentioned that they miss Mama's meals.
She is remembered as a loving mother to her 8 children.
Lupa's just presence around was so vivacious, and she was always so family oriented. And I always admired her motherhood because she had so much patience raising, her 8 children, and she was just such a lovely mother and cousin.
Her children now live on without their mother.
We want to, of course, honor Lupa's memory and set her children up for much success as they deserve. They have been through so much trauma and tragedy, and we want to make sure that their future is in good hands.
Her courage and selflessness when it came to her children is something that her family admires.
The impact is amazing because she was so brave in making sure that they were safe and away from danger until the last minute, and we're just so grateful that all the kids are safe.
The YWCA has worked very closely with the family in supporting them during this difficult time and encourages domestic violence victims to come forward.
We have too many people hurting in this community. We're answering over 1,000 crisis calls a month, and so domestic violence is an issue for everyone in our community.
Her family encourages domestic violence victims from across the valley to come forward and combat the very issue that took Lupita. A beloved mother, cousin, niece, and much more, Lupita will be remembered for her dedication to her children and her community. Reporting for Action News, I'm Aiden Connor.
KIMA's Aiden Connor, thank you. As for the police officer injured in Saturday's shooting, he's expected to make a full recovery. An investigation is underway after a chemical reaction at the Dairygold plant in Sunnyside prompted a hazmat situation. Sunnyside police say the incident happened at around 2:30 p.m. Monday after a dark orange cloud formed in a chemical room at the plant. The scene was cleared several hours later and deemed safe to return. No injuries were reported. Dozens of people were forced to evacuate from their motel rooms Monday night due to a fire. Firefighters say the incident took place at the Bali High Motel in Yakima shortly before 5:30 p.m. on Monday. 16 rooms were ultimately affected. 6 people spent a night at the local Red Cross shelter. No injuries were reported. The cause of the fire is suspected to be electrical in nature. And although we're seeing a cool down in temps, dry conditions are still very much a threat here in the Tri-Cities. Take a look at this picture posted by Benton County Fire District 1. It was about 5:30 in the evening on Monday, and they say a pickup truck lost a wheel and the sparks it produced ignited the median along Interstate 82 near exit 113. It took about 20 minutes to get under control and no one was hurt, but it just shows how quickly and easily these fires can start. And speaking of fires, 50 years ago, flames tore through the heart of downtown Yakima, nearly claiming a landmark that now stands as one of the city's most cherished cultural beacons. As KIMA's Anissa Williams tells us, the Capitol Theater opened its doors not just for performances, but for memories.
It was a summer night in 1975 when smoke began to rise from the Capitol Theater. A showing of the Apple Dumpling Gang turned into a scene of chaos. What burned that night wasn't just a building, it was a moment etched into the soul of a city.
I guess I'm getting older, and there isn't many of us left that were on that first response. A little side note, my wife's brother was in town, and he had his kids there, and so the next day I was going to take them to go see the Apple Dumpling Gang, and that didn't happen. And I had a hard time explaining to them that the theater burned down, and they wouldn't believe me.
Marty Beeler was a young firefighter then, just 2.5 years on the job, reassigned that very morning to the ladder truck they called the Snorkel.
The rest of that's kind of history. We know that Jack was injured in that, but we were so fortunate that nobody was killed. There were some injuries, but everybody had gotten out. And when I look back on that fire, I think there was a couple of lessons I really learned that I always tried to teach the crews that I worked with after that in roof operations. Provide a couple ways off that roof and make sure you have a hose line charge so that you have access to get out and protect yourself.
Half a century later, the Capitol Theater is still standing, not just rebuilt, but reborn by the hands of its community.
The fire was a tragedy, and we don't want to commemorate the tragedy, but what we are celebrating today is that the community immediately came back together and reinvested in the Capitol Theater and let us have it for these next 50, these last 50 years and for the next 50 years.
The event, called The Night the Curtain Fell, offered educational lectures on architecture, familial ties, and the unsung chapters of the capital's history, stitched together by those who remember and those who now preserve.
I grew up here in Yakima. I grew up dancing on the Capitol Theater stage. I was in the Nutcracker every year, so it really means a lot to me. I'm very, very happy that I get to be part of its story moving forward. The Capitol Theater is for Yakima. It's for our community. It's not this, separate, off-limits thing. It is part of our community. Everyone has a story with the Capitol, and we just want to capture as many of those as we can.
From fire to revival, from ashes to applause. The curtain did fall once, but it rose again, carried by a city that refused to lose its stage.
It's been 50 years since that fire, and every time I come into this theater for an event, my mind races back to that roof and how close we came to not getting off. So enjoy this theater. It's beautiful.
And with that, we're going to jump right over to meteorologist Jefferson Donovan. Jefferson, what a story there talking about the destructive capabilities of a fire and then the community rallying around that area and to help rebuild. Let's talk to fire potential today, because I know we have those hot temperatures and those dry conditions.
Yeah, it is going to be hot, dry, and windy in the area. Three of the things that we talk about when it does come to fire criteria. Now, across the forecast area today, temperatures are not going to be as hot as the last couple of days, but still very warm. In the Tri-Cities, I do believe we will stay in the upper 90s for daytime highs today. In Yakima, look for low to mid 90s this afternoon. More in the way of mid to upper 90s towards Sunnyside and Grandview. Mid to upper 80s, a smidge cooler in the Kittitas Valley today, with mid to upper 90s for the Blue Mountain foothills, as absolutely everybody does see sunshine overhead on this Wednesday. Now, the big story today will not be the hot temperatures, but it will be the wind. As we take a look at forecast peak wind gusts on this Wednesday, we could see gusts as high as 35 miles per hour for the Tri-Cities and Yakima today. Gusts up to 40 miles per hour in Walla Walla, gusts up to 45 miles per hour in Pendleton, with winds gusting as high as 55 miles per hour in Ellensburg. Now, as we go into Thursday, winds are going to stay breezy, but not as strong as today. Temperatures will also cool a smidge on Thursday, so when it does come to that extreme fire danger, we are really focused on this Wednesday. In fact, there is a red flag warning, or there are red flag warnings posted for virtually the entire viewing area from noon today until 9 p.m. tonight. I already mentioned it. Hot, dry, and windy weather will promote the rapid spread of new or existing wildfires. We really need to practice that fire safety today and just stay in general aware of your surroundings. If a fire starts near where you live with the winds how they will be today, that could lead to evacuations. Of course, we hope that doesn't happen, but again, staying fire aware is just as important as staying fire safe. Now, I mentioned that as we go into Thursday, temperatures are going to cool down. Check this out for the next 2 days after today. Thursday will feature high temperatures primarily in the low to mid 80s, although in the Tri-Cities we may stay in the upper 80s. We will cool down a few more degrees on Friday. On Friday, there will also be more clouds in the sky with a chance of showers as well. So let's jump into the Storm Tracker Futurecast. Again, it is as we get towards Friday that we are going to be watching for our next potential for precipitation on Friday. On Friday morning, I should say, best chances of rainfall will be in Kittitas County and Yakima County. What I will say is that a vast majority of the area will stay dry on Friday, aside from Kittitas County and Yakima County. And Kittitas County and Yakima County in general will feature a chance of showers in the morning and then again on Friday evening. As we go into Saturday, everyone in the region will have an opportunity for some raindrops for the first day of the weekend. And then as we do progress into Sunday, Kittitas County and Yakima County will stay dry, but there will be a good chance of showers for the Blue Mountain foothills on Sunday, and maybe even a slight chance of lingering showers for the Tri-Cities. So fire weather conditions today will transition into watching for raindrops as we do go into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Of course, we will track that rain potential more closely as we do go into tomorrow, but for today, please just practice that fire safety. Now, I'm going to toss it back over to Dave.
Thanks, Jefferson. The Washington State Tree Fruit Association has released their 2025 harvest forecast, and it's showing high output of apples statewide. KIMA's John Franklin gives us a closer look at the findings.
Despite drought conditions in Washington State, we're looking at a very large apple crop this year, tying our previous record, 142 million boxes.
Conditions have been great for growing apples this year, equaling the previous record for apple production. All that is accomplished despite a lack of rain in the Yakima Valley and across the state.
The Washington apple industry contributes a lot to our state's economy, generating over $8 billion in total economic impact and supporting over 68,000 jobs for Washingtonians.
Devaney is extremely positive about the nearing apple harvest.
Having released our 2025 apple crop estimate, everyone who eats and enjoys fresh apples should be excited.
However, some issues are falling on the growers.
Growers are facing some difficult economic conditions and labor supply challenges, which means that not everything that is on the trees may be able to be harvested or be economic to do so.
This year, organic apples are going to be 15% of the total amount of the harvested crop. Additionally, Cosmic Crisp apples, which were first created in 2019, are going to be part of the top 5 types of apples grown in the state. The top 5 varieties of apples growing in Washington are Gale, Honeycrisp, Granny Smith, Red Delicious, and Cosmic Crisp, and farmers are saying that the apples are looking good this year.
Our growers are saying that the quality of color and sizing on the trees looks excellent.
That being said, the number is still an estimate. A lot can happen between now and harvest season.
That is subject to change because we are going to have several months of additional weather before we complete harvest in later November.
For Action News, I'm John Franklin.
KIMA's John Franklin, thank you. And questions still remain, such as how the current state of tariffs may impact the industry, especially when it comes to exporting Washington apples. We're reaching out to farmers and elected officials to get a better idea of what that looks like. A small business owner in Pasco is at risk of losing his restaurant due to what he claims is excessive red tape and high cost. Javier Gonzalez owns Javi's Chicken and Churro in East Pasco. While he owns and operates 2 other chicken and churro locations in Grandview and Sunnyside, Gonzalez says the new location in Pasco is at risk of shutting down due to the high cost of city regulations, including having to pay for a $90,000 sprinkler system to host live events to draw business in.
Really hard because you have inflation, right? How the economy is right now, and you're barely making it to stay open, but then they slap this on you, and it's like there's no way anybody's able to save $90,000 for a system like that. There's just no way. So people just end up closing.
Gonzalez says it costs about $70,000 a month to stay open, although he's working with the city and fire department to be able to maintain the restaurant at a lower cost. He tells us if business does not improve, he will have to shut down. We are in the process of reaching out to the city about these regulations and costs. The Union Gap Police Department is now taking appointments regarding their newly announced Trap, Neuter, and Return program. Union Gap PD is partnering with the Yakima Humane Society to spay and alter feral animals and combat overpopulation, which has been a common theme in the Yakima Valley.
The last 3 years that I've been doing animal control, I've had lots of people come forward and ask for help with the different various communities of feral cats around. And there's not a lot of resources. I mean, there's a few rescues that do their best that they can, but can never be enough. There's a huge overpopulation crisis.
Now, the program is designed to be year-round and provide those in the community with feral animals and low funding the opportunity to spay or neuter their animals. The department says they're seeing great success with the program thus far, having altered 12 cats in the region already. And finally, with just about a month to go until the second annual Tri-Cities Ironman race, work is already well underway to make sure everything goes smoothly. Last year was the first time the race came to the Tri-Cities area. Organizers say they're proud of how things turned out, bringing in millions of dollars to our economy.
It brings in a great spirit and energy into our community, brings in thousands of athletes from around the world, and they go out and have an incredible experience here. They get to see our venues, they get to interact with our people, they're passionate, they're enthusiastic about what they do, and then they go share their experience with the rest of the world.
The 70-mile The 70-mile course closed some roads last year and caused some traffic delays. This year, organizers say those impacts should be much smaller. And that does it for us. Thank you for watching this episode of Keeper Quick. For more local news and weather, you can head over to our websites, keeper and KIMATV.com, as well as our Facebook pages. But while you're here, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up with our latest mini newscasts Monday through Friday. Have a whimsical Wednesday, everybody.